Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today, we are joined by one of the stars of Netflix selling the OC, Tyler Stanaland. What a great name, by the way. Tyler Stanaland. I feel like you could have been in sports, you could have been in real estate, but Tyler's recent rise to fame came after his success with the Oppenheim Group selling luxury real estate in the Orange County community over the past several years. And you guys know we had Mr. Jason Oppenheim himself. So it would be good to hear from someone that reports to him. What you may not know about Tyler is that he is actually a fifth-generation realtor, fourth-generation Laguna Beach native, and has several years under his belt as a, ready for this? Professional surfer. We're going to discuss the ins and outs of the professional surfing career, how Tyler's generational real estate experience has helped him professionally. We're going to talk a little TV land, and of course, we are definitely going to have to get some real estate tips from him. So Tyler, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Thanks for having me, Jason. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here. Now, what's interesting is the last time I saw you, Tyler, we were on this Dubai trip. I didn't know you, but I remember when the crew was talking about who we need to have on the show next, your name came up. I'm like, oh my God, he was on the Dubai trip, and we didn't get to say hello.
I know.
And I was on the rooftop. We'll talk about that trip for a minute, but I'm on the rooftop. I'm looking for you. I'm looking for I'm looking for all my bachelor people. Couldn't find them anywhere. But as I passed you, I remember as one of your friends or as a manager or a family member, they're like, oh no, this is bad. And they look at the phone and you had this reaction of like, oh geez, you're and I want to paint this picture, guys. One of the most gorgeous, pristine hotels in Dubai, top rooftop, infinity pools everywhere. You could see Dubai from a distance. It's like a 10 out of 10 heaven. And as I walked by you, it seemed like a 1 out of 10 hell. So first of all, we're going to talk Dubai, but everything good? Everything's no issues?
Everything's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Dubai was a funny trip. I mean, like you said, it was 10 out of 10 in every way. I mean, there was pretty much like gold flakes floating in the air. Like it was as extravagant as it could have gotten for that sort of a vacation. And I took my brother, which was awesome, and to be honest, like we weren't even sure that it was real because it seemed like too good to be true. Like all expenses paid trip to Dubai, some sort of special performance. So we were like literally 2 weeks out Googling like, is there anything out there? Are we gonna get like sex trafficked or like what's happening? You know? And then we showed up and it was exactly what was promised, which was awesome. But yeah, there was obviously with my show, there's been a lot of rumors and speculation, and so there was, because I was there with another castmate, there was a lot of rumors and speculation about what was happening in my personal life. Obviously, I'm newly single, so people saw some photos of us there and trying to jump to conclusions. So I wasn't privy to what you saw, but I was probably sharing it to my brother or even my co-star Alex Hall and being like, look what people are saying. This is crazy.
Interesting.
And we were both there. You know, I was there with my brother. She was there with a +1, and so it was 2 separate trips, but from the outsider's perspective, somebody can take a photo and it looks as if you're there together. I'm newly single. It looks, it does look scandalous. And so there was lots of media about that, which obviously wasn't the case. So I appreciate you bringing that up because now I can clear my name with that. But yeah.
Oh, so that's interesting because I didn't know. I knew you were. I didn't know that your castmates were there. So I didn't even know that was your castmate until right now.
So there was one castmate there. And in fact, we didn't even know that we were each going until like 2 weeks prior. And I was like, I'll be in Dubai, so I got to miss a week of filming. And then she's like, I'm going to be in Dubai. And so that's how we put it together.
Got it.
And then when I got there, obviously there was, as you know, there was all walks of life, musicians and people on TV and authors. And just, it was a really cool collective group of humans. But yeah, no, it was a lot happening.
It was a bizarre trip. We actually did a full episode breaking down all the Dubai analytics that we got from the PR team that ran it, the ins and outs of it, the money behind it, all things. So I want to get your take on that real quick. But while we're on this topic, I think it's an important one because I think in anybody's life, personal items and personal issues collide with the professional world.
Right.
Maybe not on the scale of the top of the Atlantis Royale in Dubai, someone thinking that you're dating your coworker, but how do you just in general handle just the mayhem that could happen in your personal life and the mayhem that might be under the spotlight or someone's making up a rumor while still staying focused on, extremely competitive industry and work?
I think I'm still honestly trying to find that balance. I've never really been in the spotlight like I am right now. So it's something that I'm still trying to figure it out. When the show first launched, it was crazy. And there's a lot of, you've been through it. People have an opinion and you could literally be saving puppies from starvation and somebody will still find a way to look negatively upon you for that. So honestly, it took me just time to figure out how to do it. And for me, like at this point, I've just kind of gotten thicker skin, and I kind of just ignore it. And there's not really much of a secret there, other than like you kind of just have to block it out and focus on you, because the noise is irrelevant, and focusing on it does just distract you from what you should be doing anyway. So yeah, obviously we're filming an upcoming season right now, and so you'll see kind of me trying to learn how to deal with all that coming soon. So
all right, there you go. There's a little tease. It's coming soon, guys. Season 2, so be on the watch for that. I think it is something that like people at all levels, regardless of what type of platform you're on or not, deal with. And I think it's really good that that advice you gave. It's always easier to hear and even say than actually execute, because we all have feelings, and like when people are saying negative things about us, like that sucks and it throws us off. But to your point, that's kind of the purpose of all these critics and all these rumors. It's like to throw you off. Stay on track, stay focused on what you're doing, because no one else is going to do that for you.
No one else is, but it is easier said than done, and it's kind of trial by fire, to be honest, for me anyways. And yeah, I don't know, I think I'm still trying to figure it out, but that's kind of the only way I can. That's the best advice I have, though, is just ignore it and keep pressing on. If people are talking about it, you're probably doing something right.
I love that. That's a good piece of advice. Last part about the Dubai trip, just because we talked about it so much on the podcast. I mean, the lay of the land of the people that were there and why they were there and who they did and didn't invite. And we have a talent agency. There were some people that were invited and then it was recourse, like this whole crazy thing.
Yeah.
What's your experience? You just got this random email, or who reached out to you?
So I got a random email from a PR company. And I, like I said, I was like, this sounds great. I'll respond and just say, like, count me in. Never thinking that it would actually happen.
Yeah.
And then a couple months go by and the trip got postponed. So it got postponed a couple months, and I was like, this is phase 1 of it not happening.
Yeah.
And then they reached back out, like, I need your passport info. And so I sent it. And then when we got our tickets, amazing. We were going. But when I got there, similar to you, I was looking around being like, why am I here?
I kept saying that.
Because I don't really have a huge following, you know, and I have a small following, whatever, but I seem like a very random addition to like Jay-Z and Beyonce and you and just people like that have big followings and voices. So it was very surreal, but everybody there, I think, did bring something cool to the table.
Totally.
And so it made the experience, because we were having dinner and drinks with people that I'd never met, and it was just fun to pick people's brains in fields that were different from mine. But they did a good job of curating a group of humans that made the event extra special. And then on top of that, obviously everything was above and beyond. So
it was above and beyond. There wasn't much crossover, and still kind of to this day I scratch my head and say, I wonder why they had the people that they did, because as we talked about on that episode a few back, the spectrum was like you said, A to Z, all different genres, backgrounds, and it was just the wildest thing I think I've ever done. We too also thought it was fraudulent. We're like, we're gonna be dead, this is it, we're over. And it was picture perfect.
And if you Googled it like 2 weeks prior, there was nothing about it. Just
nothing.
Just that the hotel was coming soon. And so I was like, this is so strange. But you know what? Let's go.
Now, I had the benefit of my brother is a massive Beyonce fan. Like, he's the kind of guy that's in like Reddit blogs on Beyonce. So he knew all about this. He's like, oh, of course, her first performance in 2008, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh my God, all right. I think we're safe. I think we're good.
That's funny.
Well, that's Dubai. That is Tyler and I's interaction, and there's some good business advice in there. I want to go first and foremost to this whole professional surfing thing. I saw that there was an outlet out there that called you the world's most handsome professional surfer. That is a dangerous combo, being the most handsome professional surfer and being able to make money on that. How long does it take to someone become like a professional? How's that world work from a business perspective?
Well, first of all, it seems like a pretty generous compliment, but the professional surfing world is strange. I mean, you pretty much, when I was a kid and coming up, by 13 or 14, you were competing every single weekend somewhere. I grew up in California, so somewhere on the California coast, and you were basically trying to get a national rating. And from there, like, some kids had really big contracts. At like 15, 16, kids are getting paid 6 figures, which is huge. I was not one of those kids. I was very much like, I was good, but I wasn't like getting paid 6 figures.
Question for you though.
Yeah.
Is it like, because obviously we know with like all professional sports, there's leagues, there's teams. Who's actually paying the 6 figures? Where's that money coming from?
So surf brands. So a brand will say, like, I see potential in this kid. He is the next world champion. I'm going to invest in him now, give him all the best training, all the best everything, and see if I can, make this kid live up to his potential. And so the surf industry kind of has their choices, and that's who they pick. And a lot of times they are really good at picking, but sometimes, it's a grind, like every sport, but you do start really, really young. And your careers don't last very, very long. I mean, I would say, previously they were pro surfers that, were told to retire by 25, 26, 27. And
Why
so,
though? Is like surfing that grueling on the body?
Kinda, it can be. And also back in the day, I mean, people weren't taking care of their bodies as well. Now,
Okay.
you have Kelly Slater, who I think is 52 now, and he won, a world tour event last year, right just before his 50th or 51st birthday or something, which is crazy, unheard of. So our careers are lasting longer. But as a kid, you started pretty young. You were competing every single weekend, and then you essentially graduated at some point. Usually, like you graduated high school and you hit the world qualifying series,
Okay.
which is how you'd have to be in the top 15 in the world at that time to qualify for the world tour. So I was doing those contests. I had sponsorships and was making like kind of like a travel budget, but I wasn't like making money as a kid.
Okay.
And then I started competing. Had like some okay results, on the pro circuit, but didn't really do that well. So I actually got my real estate license at 19 to kind of fall back on.
Okay.
And then I actually kind of left the sport, to be honest. Not left. I got sick when I was 22.
Okay.
So got really sick. Spent 100 days in the hospital. Had 7 surgeries. Yeah. Basically like life-saving surgeries. I had this thing called ulcerative colitis.
Okay.
And ulcerative colitis is an autoimmune disorder that affects your large intestine. And essentially my large intestine perforated. I went septic, didn't know.
Wow.
So just crazy story. But it took me like a year just to even be able to I had like a ostomy bag. So it took me a year before I could kind of get back to real life. So jumped into real estate, ended up surfing again after not surfing for a year and a half or so. And then started working with this brand called Catch Surf. And they kind of like jump-started my whole surf career again. And so I went from being a competitive surfer to now I was the other side of surfing, which is a free surfer, where I was kind of just paid to travel and have fun and take photos and go to cool surf destinations.
I mean, that's the dream.
So it was the dream. And I was super burnt out on competing. And to be honest, there was people that were a lot better at competing than me. So it was kind of like the best case scenario for my surf career, but I just got there by funny circumstance.
Okay, curiosities are going crazy in my head with this surf stuff. I just have a few questions, then we'll move on. But when you are competing at that level, how much are you making? Like, what's a prize pool like in surfing?
It's changed a lot. So now at the highest level of surfing, if you win that event, it's $100,000.
Oh shit!
And they've got.
I was not expecting that.
I think they have 10 events per year, but competitive prize money is not where pro surfers make their money. So it is a lot. But like your qualifying series events, I think it's like $1,000 per star, and they have like 1 through 6 stars or something like that. So I think like the most money you can make on the qualifying series like 50 or 60 grand or something.
Got it. Interesting. So we had Val from Dancing with the Stars on, and he was a professional dancer before. Okay. And what was interesting about that career, which I had no idea about, like the highest pinnacle, the highest platform where you were competing to be crowned, the best dancer to be walking on this planet, the pool prize. Take a guess.
Well, because you're questioning me, I'm going to say $8,000.
Just because of my content, the way I'm framing it, $500-600.
What?
Yeah. So he said, like, he goes like max 1,000. So he said we would spend $5,000 pluses on attire and dresses and stuff,
absolutely.
and we would lose money if we won. And so I hate to like bucket in dance with surfing, but I expected that type of competition. I don't know, 5-10 grand, 100 grand, not too bad. Did you, when you were even doing your freestyle, did you make enough to live, or did you make enough to save money and be wealthy? Like, what was the income around?
I mean, so I still have those endorsements in place now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. And so
you're still a professional surfer.
That feels like a very generous
stretch.
Term. Yeah, because obviously my focus is elsewhere, but I still have those contracts in place. I think if I lived in like Ohio or something, I could be living and saving and all that. I mean, to be honest, it's like just under 6 figures. And so I live in Orange County, and Orange County is really expensive.
Yeah, you can't.
So it's like you can't really live off that. And that's, at this point, it's supplemental income to my real estate career.
What a hell of a side hustle, though.
Yeah.
Being the most handsome professional surfer, making a couple bucks.
Come on. But no, it's good. And it's fun. And to be honest, it's nice to have that balance where I'm able to focus on work, but have something that I'm passionate about as a side hustle, and get to go to cool places because of it.
That is really cool. As a Buffalo boy, I know nothing about surfing, but I had to dive into that because that is an industry we haven't touched and probably never will touch on Trading Secrets, so I had to get into that. Yes. Let's get into the real estate stuff. So I think your job is fascinating. I think that the TV aspect is just incredible. Your family history within this space has got to be beneficial, but I want to jump right to Jason Oppenheim. We had Jason Oppenheim on the podcast.
Yep.
Okay, and we scheduled him a couple times, and then when we finally got him on, his PR team and his admin set everything up.
Yep.
And so he gets on, and he was like, kind of like, okay, so what is this again? And I was like, no worries. Like, we get that all the time. His trade secrets is the premise. We'll take anything up. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So how long is this going to be? And his team sent us the calendar invite. We didn't send it. And it was a calendar invite for an hour. And I was like, probably like, and I had like a whole studio and everything. We were doing virtual. And I was like, man, probably like max an hour. But I usually can keep them to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, like, and we're good.
Yeah.
He just goes, can't do that. Sorry. And I was like, dude, your team sent the invite. Like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, give me 1 second. Makes a few calls. I don't know who he talked to. Put on mute. He goes, all right, listen. I'll do as long as I can, but I got to make it quick. I got clients across the street at a lunch. Let's just roll this thing. We ended up getting, I think it was 32 minutes out of him. I think we got like more than actually 30, but pretty intense dude. He was very direct. And then when we got him talking, he was a 10 out of 10.
He is.
Very smart, very sharp, very to the point, and brilliant. Gave some of the best advice we've had in less than 30 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
How did you end up landing a job within his group, and what was that like?
So obviously I'm fifth generation real estate. I've worked with the family since the dawn of time. That was kind of, I got licensed at 19, and I'm 33 now. I think when I joined his brokerage, I was 31 or 32, and I was just kind of like looking to kind of leave the family brokerage and kind of carve my own path. And he bought this building in Orange County that is very like focal to Newport Beach. Like you drive by it, you can't miss it. And especially with his remodel, I mean, I'm sure you've seen what he's done up here in LA. Like when Jason does something, he does it
big.
Well and big. So obviously he's built a very specific brand, and it just kind of seemed like a good fit for my clients. And I really enjoy him as a human as well. As you've experienced, he's just like a no BS guy. And I felt like there was a lot that I could learn from him. So it was just a good fit and good timing with him opening that office.
How did your family feel about you leaving the family brokerage to go to someone like Oppenheim Group?
They were supportive. I mean,
they were.
Yeah. And there's still a lot of overlap between my clients. There's still a lot of overlap with my family and our clients. And so we still share lots of deals, and we have a few properties co-listed right now. So I'm gone, but I'm also not gone.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. You're still there, but you're still doing your own thing.
I'm carving my own path, but I'm still, very close to the family.
Now, we talk a lot about this, a lot of different shows, a lot of different careers, and we talk about kind of the strategy and thought process of the moves and why you've made them. I got to imagine if you're going to the Oppenheim Group, especially when you have this type of background that you do and your family is so ingrained in the community, there has to be some part of you that is thinking, not only is this a great play for my real estate career, but this could be a good like exposure platform play as well. Is that at all part of the thought process when you go to a group like the Oppenheim Group?
I mean, for sure, but we have agents in office that aren't part of the show at all. However, they use that as part of their leverage to get listings and clients. And in Orange County, there are clients that want to be part of it, and there are clients that it actually works against you because people are a little bit more private down there. But absolutely, that is a factor and was part of my. I did consider that when making the move. Yeah.
Well, I think it makes sense, especially in your market, because the audience that might be watching this or might possibly be the same audience where you can land a big deal with.
Totally. And ultimately, it's just giving you a platform to show your skill set in front of millions of people. And so, yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer if you can be a part of something like that. Absolutely. And it helps your clients as well. I mean, the exposure that they get by listing with you is next to impossible. So
interesting. Okay.
It's a big deal.
When you're going up against other brokers in the town, is the Oppenheim Group a clear standout, or is there any type of stigma with the Oppenheim Group? Like, it's a TV show, like, we're the professionals, come work with us. Don't mind Oppenheim Group. Like, does that ever happen?
I mean, yeah. And Orange County is really small, and there are only so many top dogs down there. And so that was a thing, but, his office has been open for a couple of years, and it's doing really well, and he's become a force in that market, and I think having people like me who grew up down there and knows not only the industry but knows the community, it does help kind of bring credibility to the brand. But Jason's brand alone competes with everybody else. So yeah, it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, because we've even had some brokers from other shows come on, and they'll be like, listen, there are some people that are on his show because they don't know anything about real estate. They're there to be a character. But they said, obviously that's not you, but other people I'm sure you can think of without naming any names. But they're like, even those people that compete in the different shows, everything, they're like, Jason is the guy. Like, he is a hustler. He is a deal worker.
Yeah.
He's one of the best in the business. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was curious about the thought of what it would be like to be interviewed by Jason for a job. And I was like, what a perfect guy in time to ask Tyler. When you came on board, what's his interview process like? What does he do in the interview? What type of questions? Any curveballs? Anything that's nuts?
You know what's funny is when I talked to him, it was like the first time I ever talked to him, we had like a 45-minute conversation on the phone. And it was as if, like, the minute we started talking, it was as if I had known him for 20 years.
Huh.
It was just so seamless. And he wasn't like a ball buster. He was just matter of fact. He was like, and he took the time to have this call with me. And I asked him a ton of questions. And I was skeptical. And leaving the family brokerage for me was a huge deal. But I trusted Jason's brand. And I was on the fence. And at the time, I also had an offer to be on the show. So it's kind of a two for one deal.
Oh, cool. It was like, you come on, you're going to be on the show, and you have a position here.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But I was just super skeptical. I had a really good thing going with the family. It was easy. I love working with my family, and my family's been down there forever, and it's a very safe plan of action. So leaving was a big deal, but after speaking with Jason, it was a no-brainer.
Did they find you, or did you find them?
Production?
Yeah, just like the whole concept of you going to them. Was it something that you initiated or something they initiated?
Something that they initiated.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think I was the last one to join, actually. I joined the brokerage basically 2 weeks before we started filming, because I was just on the fence. I had a really good thing going, and I was very unsure. And then, I talked with Jason, and I took the leap, and it's been a really great thing for my career.
That is awesome. Okay. Yeah. In the real estate business, if people are interested in getting into becoming a agent or broker, what would you call it? A real estate agent or broker?
Real estate agent. Yeah.
Okay. What is the actual technical difference?
A broker, you are able to have a brokerage and manage agents, and a licensed real estate agent, you're just allowed to sell property, but you have to work under a broker.
That's right. And it's different licensing and different testing.
Different licensing.
Yes.
It's harder to be a broker.
Okay. So if you want to become an agent, someone back home is thinking about becoming an agent, for the most part, the only way you're paid is when you do a deal, right?
You are commission-based, 100%.
All commission-based.
Yep.
And that's a standard. Doesn't matter if you're working for Jason Oppenheim or you're working for some group in Buffalo, New York, you are commission-based.
Yep. I believe there are some brokerages that pay salaries, but, then you're stuck on a salary and you don't have the opportunity to make, 6-7 figures.
Which, if you're a shark, you would never want to do that.
You wouldn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. But then with the show component, obviously there's some type of fee to be on the show too. So you have other sources of income.
There is. I mean, yeah. Yeah,
okay.
There is.
Okay, but it's marginal. It's not going to make you rich in OC.
It's not going to make you rich, no.
Okay,
No.
Got it. Now, since being on the show and starting with them day one, is that a challenge to, like, you're filming?
Yeah.
And obviously there's drama in the filming and there's other things they have to capture. And I'm sure there are things that aren't connected just to producing new deals. So how big of a distraction did being on the show actually connect to your performance as an agent?
I think season 1, I'd never filmed, I'd never been on camera like that. So it was a lot. And I think we were all trying to figure out, how is this all going to work, and how do we still have our jobs? I think we only end up filming 2 to 3 days a week when we are in production. So you still have time to, do your real job, but it is a little bit nerve-wracking, and it can be a distraction. But you just figure it out. I don't know. So you have time to do both, but ultimately it kind of keeps you focused, to be honest.
Okay.
Or it keeps me focused now. When I have I don't know.
Okay. I think that's fair. I think it's like one of these things, like, you just figure it out.
You kind of just figure it out.
Okay.
And it's good.
After one season, now filming season 2 and 3, when you look forward to the future of your career, do you think you will always want to do the double dip where you're being filmed while simultaneously being an agent? Or do you see, like, I might need a break of the filming to just focus on the agent part?
Well, luckily we have breaks between filming. We don't just film, 365. We're on break right now, so that's great. But I don't know. That's a good question. I think I'm enjoying this season, these couple seasons that we're shooting currently, more than I did season 1 in some ways, and in other ways, not as much. But it is just a process. You learn. There are things that you will enjoy about it and things that you don't. But ultimately, like, it is good for your real estate business as well. So it's kind of one of those things, like, the juice is worth the squeeze. You just kind of got to stay focused on the long-term goal here. Okay. But I do enjoy it. I love being able to show the world our properties. I think we have a very unique coastline. It is something that I feel proud to be a part of and show what we do, you know?
Is people that might be fans of yourself and the show, what do you think is like one of the biggest misconceptions that you've like heard from that noise that you'd be like, you should know this? Like, I'm in there every day, and that is a misconception. That's not the reality of what we do and how we do it.
I think, I mean, and maybe you can speak to this also. I think so let's just say we film each season for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever. And ultimately we film for hours and hours and hours, but they can only fit so much into one episode. Yeah. And so sometimes there are stories that seem like the full version, but really they're parts of stories that can tell a version of the story. And a lot of times the viewers will take what they see as gospel when that is part of the story, but there's also something more there. So learning how to deal with people's opinions like that has been a journey for sure. Yeah. And maybe you experience similar things on that.
Totally. I mean, 100%. I think you only see such a small portion of it. Very rarely is the entirety of the context shown. Mm-hmm. And then I think perceptions, rumors, and instant judgments are stemmed from a very small portion.
Right.
I also love to take stuff like this that's in like, Hollywood TV land and connect it to people that are back home that whatever job you might be doing. What's interesting is that's the same rhetoric in almost any company, in any industry.
Right.
The boss's boss's boss is going to see and hear very small samples about you. Mm-hmm. They're going to hear it from their boss, and then they're going to hear from the person under them, and then they might talk to one person they're connected with very well, and they have a good or bad opinion of you. And it's oftentimes in life, whether you're on a TV show or not, people have very small snippets of a story that actually connect to the reality and the truth of who you are.
Right.
And I think anyone, no matter what your role is, that thinks otherwise really needs to reshape that. And also that's why I'm such a big proponent of no matter what form it is, make sure you're an advocate for yourself and make sure you tell the story that it needs to be told, because if you don't, people will tell it for you.
Right.
Right? And the wrong story is going to get out. And don't be afraid to speak up. You are not pumping your tires too much. You're not arrogant. You need to tell your story, and you need to advocate for yourself. Yeah. Like, that's a huge one.
It's a huge one, and a lesson that I've learned the hard way recently is, when through this process there's been lots of media and speculation and attention, and something that I haven't always touched on, because it is a weird thing. I don't want to focus on it or read it, but if you don't tell your story, to your point, then people will tell it for you, and ultimately the wrong story gets told.
Yep. So my like the first time that ever happened to me, like where there was a story or there's a rumor that just wasn't true, my natural inclination was ignore, let it go down the drain, compartmentalize, and don't address it. And I quickly learned that if you don't speak up, if you don't say something in your, not even defense, but just in your truth,
right,
no one's going to hear it.
Right.
No one's going to hear it. And part of the situation, whether it's personal matters or business matters or whatever it may be, tell the truth, but tell your truth, right? Because if you don't, who knows what the hell is going to happen out there.
Right.
I think that's a big one in all areas of life.
Huge one.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's actually get into the real estate stuff. So, I mean, super cool business, super cool industry, awesome job. 1 through 10, you have to rate. Someone's asking, you're at a career fair, you're on a panel, and they're like, be real with me, no bullshit. Like 1 through 10, like how happy, how motivated, how excited are you about what you do? Not the TV stuff, the actual process of what you do. How would you answer that?
Depends on the day, but
it's a great answer.
Honestly, I love what I do, so I would say 9, because I love it. Basically, my job is I'm a problem solver. I'm having to find somebody a home, then I'm having to make sure that it's what they love, and then a lot of times there's something wrong with the home, so I have to negotiate some sort of credit to make sure that they feel comfortable calling this their own home, and ultimately, like, you are there to make somebody feel comfortable in one of the biggest decisions of their whole life. And so I love that. I love being able to solve that problem and help somebody find their forever home.
Yeah, and they're making the biggest decision of their life, and they're making it big dollars when they're working with someone like you. And I think about, obviously, there's ways that Tyler Stanaland has differentiated himself, but this is a world in which there are a lot of real estate agents out there, especially from that 2020, 2021 boom.
Right.
If someone looked you in the eye and they said, I got the world lined up that wants to rep me, why Tyler Stanaland? What differentiates you from everyone else out there?
I mean, down in Orange County, I'm from Orange County. I'm born and raised there. I know every street. It's a very small town. And it's very community focused, and people want to work with somebody that is in the community, and that's something that I was lucky to be born into, and so that does help me out a lot. And there are a lot of people that move to Orange County and do super well, but it's different to be part of the community. and yeah, that's been kind of where I found my success, to be honest, is being able to be an established member of the community.
Okay, that's a huge differentiator when you're born,
Yeah.
especially to a place that so many people are transplanting to, right?
Right.
That can definitely separate you from everyone else that's here.
Right.
What about, and if any of these numbers you don't want to share, we have the viewing audience is called the Money Mafia. You
Okay.
just say the word mafia, and I won't even ask again.
Okay.
But I got to ask, I got thinking of a couple.
Okay.
What is like the average sized home that you do, would you say? If you had to like take all of your stuff and like put in an average, what do you think it is?
As far as like price point?
Price point, yeah.
I mean, we'll say, I'll just say 5 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have one outlying success story or one epic person that you represented that like is your number one trophy? It's like your professional world surfing of a real estate deal you did?
My dad and I sold a property to Mark Cuban at the Montage.
Wow.
Which was pretty cool. We sold that to him. It's been a few years now. And I think he still owns the property. I don't know if he lives there, but
Got it. That's pretty cool.
that was pretty cool.
And when like a guy like Mark Cuban, who we all know is a multi-billionaire,
Yeah.
are you actually working with him, or do you like have a team that he works through?
It was kind of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool one.
That was cool.
All right. Someone that wants to, let's just say someone's thinking about buying their first home right now. I'm going to get away from the numbers here. What type of advice would you give them in a market like this, which has a ton of, I'm just going to say, fear-driven rhetoric or media out there about recession and what's happening in the market,
Yeah.
and they're afraid to buy. They're going to continue to rent. What's your advice to them?
I mean, my advice would be, if you can afford to buy, because from what I'm seeing, prices are probably going to stay where they are. And although rates are still higher than what they were, historically they're still very low. And if rates do fall, you can always refinance. So if you can afford to buy now.
Got it. How do you have a way of advice you'd give people if they didn't know if they could afford a home?
Yeah. So obviously I'm not a financial professional,
Sure.
but I have people that I would connect them with, and I would say get pre-approved, talk with a lender, see what you can do. And a lot of times you can afford much more than you think, but until you talk with a specialist, you just don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, talk with a lender, get pre-approved, and then you can know what you can do and kind of make an educated decision from there.
Gotcha. Okay. And then what about selling your home, right? Like you see like
Yep.
people on Redfin or Zillow. Obviously, we've seen massive drop-off since interest rates have been moving at the rate they have.
Yeah.
So they're hemming and hawing about selling. What is your advice or thoughts to that?
I mean, prices are still very high and inventory is very low. So if you have something special, people are going to want to buy it, and although rates are up, we're still not seeing a flood of new products. So the opportunity as a seller is still there. It's just, what is your plan after you sell? What do you want to do? Are you looking to move up, move down, move out of state? Kind of what is your next move from selling? Because you can definitely make money, most likely, even if you bought your property in like 2020, you're probably going to make money.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do next?
Yeah. We've talked a lot about on this show the whole idea and broke down what the mansion tax is and the change that happened April 1st. Has that made an astronomical impact on the clientele that you work with and when and if they're going to sell?
I mean, we haven't seen too much of that yet, but I believe that will impact the market up here in LA. And I think that we will start to see people kind of coming down south. Obviously, that's a big deal. Obviously, we don't have the mansion tax. So I'm curious to see how much that will affect the market.
Okay.
Sure.
And are you licensed? Because obviously there's been a ton of movement in other different cities and states because of everything since COVID. And obviously there's just been a lot of change. I don't think anyone can argue that. Did you ever think about getting licensed in other states because of the way supply and demand has shifted?
Not necessarily recently, but I have thought about getting licensed in other states. I thought about getting licensed in Florida. I thought about getting licensed in New York. I lived in New York for like a year. And so when I was over there, I was thinking like maybe I would just get licensed to have it and see if that was something that I wanted to pursue. Ultimately, I didn't. California is home. I don't want to say never, but for now, I think California is home. And I love living where I live and doing what I do. And yeah, I think I can't imagine living somewhere else and selling real estate.
Yeah,
at this time.
And I think that's also so true to like what differentiates you, right? Like what makes you so special in the space is this is your home. It's always been your home. It's 5 generations deep been your home. You're not leaving. You're sticking in.
I'm sticking
You're holding your
around.
ground. All right. We see on Google all the things. You can look at different industries. You can look at different places about what people make. If you had to take like you're just projecting, but you had to take every single person that's on some form of luxury real estate show and
Yeah.
you put them into a big pile, every single one of them, the Josh Flags, all A to Z, and they all had to like report their income. What would you say like the low, high, medium approximation is of like what they might make in an annual basis?
I mean, that's tough because obviously there's a huge range there. I think we work in a luxury market. If you're selling property and you sell more than a couple properties, you're definitely making six figures. And the top guys are, making 7 and 8 figures.
Okay.
8 feels like a lot, but I mean, probably some people are making eight figures. But I would say, guys like Jason Oppenheim, the Flags, Altmans, they're definitely making 7 figures on commission alone.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
What is the turnaround like? When you look at your year starts.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at goals, are you more focused on I want to sell? I'm just making this up, but I want to sell 50 million or 100 million in real estate this year. Are you more focused on I want at least 30 transactions? What are some of the metrics that like define success for someone in your world?
I mean, me personally, I look at kind of like a set gross dollar amount. I don't necessarily need, let's say 20 transactions, but let's say I want to close $50 million this year. That's kind of what I focus on because $50 million could be one sale. Right now I've got almost $70 million listed. So if I can sell all those, which, would be only a few transactions, would be a great year. So yeah, I'm kind of looking at dollar amount, not necessarily amount of transactions for myself personally.
Yeah, and it seems like no matter what the price point is, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, $50 million home, correct me if I'm wrong, but the process and time cycle is usually pretty similar, right?
The process and time cycle is the exact same. However, It feels like sometimes with the smaller deals, those end up being more work.
Interesting.
It is, yeah.
Don't imagine that, huh?
I know.
Yeah, okay.
And a lot of the bigger deals, people are paying cash. They bought property before. They know what they're getting into, and they kind of just roll through the process.
That's just such a wild thing to me.
It's so
like
wild.
People just 20 million cash. Like that's just crazy.
The amount of cash that we've seen post-COVID too is insane. It's crazy. I mean,
wild.
The amount of cash people have always blows my mind.
What are these like? That's the number one question I get of. We have we were doing a walk the other day and just looking at homes and we just have fun with it. We're putting addresses in to see the price, 12 million bucks, 10, 20. The next one was 25. We're thinking 25 million. We're like, how much do you actually have to afford a 25 million house? Now we're saying the big golden question. What do these people do? On average, like what are the different professions you see of people you work with that have found ultra success?
I mean, it's everything. You've got your, business entrepreneurs. It's a lot of tech, though. I will say, like a lot of tech, especially in this post-COVID era.
Sure.
A lot of people have cash and they're looking to park it in real estate.
Yeah.
So
there's such a flux of investors being able to raise capital in the tech space that so many companies got paid out, and then a lot of those companies turned around, but those owners still got that cash.
Yeah, and a lot of those big tech people are looking to move out of San Francisco and LA and New York and be in a place like Orange County. So it's great for us.
Yeah, you'll take it.
Yeah.
You'll take it. Okay, so now I want you to go into professor mode. Okay, you got my whole money mafia. They're in the classroom, and you are the real estate professor.
Okay.
Like, listen, Tyler, I am about to buy or sell a home, and obviously the advice would be different. And I need like insider advice. I need like, what are things I should be aware of if I work with a broker? Maybe if I'm listing a home, things I should think about like with the photos. What are things like I'm not going to go find on Google, but I could learn from a guy like you with all your experience if I'm buying or selling a home? Give me the inside tips.
If you're selling, I think good photos are worth it. Having really good photos make a difference. And I think a lot of people put emphasis and focus in what things like Zillow and Redfin say. And they are third-party sites, but the information isn't always accurate. Sometimes the price is different. Sometimes the days on market is different. It's not a good pricing tool in my experience. And I think ultimately you want to find somebody that knows the market, that has experience. Somebody like myself in Orange County. I mean, somebody who lives there, eats, breathes, and sleeps where you're trying to sell your property, because anybody can list your property and put photos online, but not everybody will have the connections needed to make sure that the deal happens quickly.
Got it. That's a good piece of advice. So your big thing is the imagery, and then also making sure you're like really, really interviewing your agent.
Yeah, you want to make sure your agent knows what they're doing, knows what they're selling, and knows how to sell it.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple, yeah. And sometimes, a lot of times you'll see properties that are listed by family members that have a real estate license, and it's kind of like they do it for friends and family thing. And a lot of times you see that those properties sit longer. They take, you get what you pay for, and hiring an experienced agent makes a big difference.
I love that. Okay, that same group of people are like, wow, okay, we got some tips and tricks on how to buy and sell. Now I want to maybe become an agent.
Yeah.
Would you recommend this industry, and what would be your first starting point steps to someone that's like, I do have interest?
I would recommend it. There's a lot of upside, a lot of opportunity. Your schedule is flexible, and by a flexible schedule, I mean you have no free time at all. But it's good. Yeah, I think the only way to find success though is to dive headfirst, and I think that's like the case with any industry, but specifically real estate. Like, it takes a few years to get off the ground, and it takes a few years to find success and build your clientele and start selling property. So, yeah, I don't know. It just takes time. So I would say have patience, but have hustle.
But also, like, what I heard from that too is, because I hear so many people, I got a side thing, I do real estate. It's my takeaway from what you just said is you can't half-ass this. If you're going to do it, you got to go all in.
Real estate's not a side hustle.
Yeah.
It's not, which is why real estate is my focus, and now surfing is my side hustle. I surf when I can, but real estate is my main focus. And that's the only way that I can find success in this industry is by being 100% in. And I do love that, but without being 100% in, it's just not going to work.
Got it. One of the last questions I have on the real estate side is pull through. Like you talked about, you have 70 million listed right now.
Yep.
What is the likelihood that you pull through 70 million? Like, is there a percentage that it's like an 80% that I'll pull it all through, or how does that be analyzed?
I mean, if things are priced well and accurately, they will sell. Sometimes it's a little bit of a dance. Sometimes it takes a while, but generally I don't lose listings. Generally, if I take a listing, I will do whatever it takes to make sure that it gets sold.
I love that. That's a confident man right there. He knows the business. He knows it all. You have to be. Yeah, no doubt about it. No matter what they're saying about you, good or bad online, you be confident you get that shit done.
Yep. Yeah.
I love that. All right, so what can we expect? What is next for Tyler? Is it more professional surfing? Is it being the #1 guy at the Oppenheim group? Like, what does the forecast look like? Give us a little tease of Tyler's life. What can we expect?
The #1 guy at the office. I mean, sure, yeah, I'd love to sell the most real estate. I'd love to take over Jason's, top dog status. But
sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the process of filming seasons 2 and 3. We're on a little bit of a break right now, so I'm going to go take a surf trip. I haven't been on one of those for a long time, but yeah, I'm just honestly, I've got some really great listings right now, focusing on selling those, and then, I don't know, take the year as it comes.
Okay, cool. Do you have being in front of the camera now? Reality TV show is what it's considered. Do you have any interest in moving into another reality TV show or like acting or anything like that?
No.
Okay, so this is your world, and if other cameras and lights come with it, sure, but I'm in this world, I'm not going anywhere.
Pretty much, yeah. And I'm pretty reserved and I'm probably the shyest of the cast. So being part of this process has been an adjustment for me. Being in front of the camera and the spotlight has been, interesting. And it's fun, but a lot comes with it as well. So I like what I'm doing now, but I'm definitely not, actively seeking out other endeavors in the entertainment field.
Yeah, and I think like when you do something like that makes you a little bit, let's say, uncomfortable. The advantages and skills you can develop in those scenarios that can help in other areas of life or other professions are like massive.
Totally.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's huge.
It's been, I've grown a lot because of this process, and it has been a really good thing. It just hasn't been an easy thing, which is sometimes where the most growth happens.
Got it. Okay, this part we can edit out because I'm not sure what you can and can't share, but I have to at least put it in here, and it would be about teasing the next show. So can you talk about, can you tease season 3, or should I just avoid it?
I can, I'll try and tease it as much as I can.
Okay. All right. So Tyler, we know that season 2 is coming up, and we are wrapping up with you here, and you guys are finished filming, and we'll see it soon. Can you tease anything from like your perspective, things we can see from Tyler or the show in general?
Yeah, so season 2 and 3 are coming out soon. I'm guessing this year. I don't know for sure. I would imagine at some point this year. And I will say things get spicy. Okay. There's some drama. There's some incredible listings. There's some really big sales. And to be honest, it kind of just feels like season 1, but much more elevated. So I'm excited for the world to see it. It's going to be a good thing.
Let me ask you this. When I came off the Bachelor, people said, describe your edit in one quick blurb. Yeah. I said, I think I would call it The underdog heartbreak. That's what it was. Give me a little blurb. How would you summarize what you think? You never know, but what you think we can expect from Tyler
in season 2 and 3?
Yeah.
I definitely come out of my shell a lot more. I think season 1, people saw me as somebody who was a little bit reserved, and I kind of lit myself on fire to keep some other people warm, sort of a thing. I didn't really tell my truth, which is something that we touched on. And so this season, I think I speak up a bit more, which is good, and a skill that maybe I needed to learn to have. So we'll see. I don't know.
All right. He is getting a little spicy in season
Getting
2.
spicy.
That's what I like to see, and that's what we heard. All right, Tyler, we wrap every show with a trading secret. So it's a trading secret from either your profession, your family, your money management, finances. It could just even be life advice, but it's a trading secret no one could get from a classroom, no one can get from a professor or a textbook. They can only get from you. What is one trading secret you could leave us with?
Somebody very wise said, "This ain't no dress rehearsal." And so if you're going to do it, do it. And if you're going to half-ass it, don't waste your time.
Wow, I love that. I have a little Monopoly board, and it has the guest, and you can scan it and listen to the episode, and then it just takes one little quote from there. I already see it. This ain't no dress rehearsal. That is one hell of a trading secret. Tyler, thank you so much for coming on. This was absolutely unbelievable. Where can people find more of Tyler if they want to reach out, if they want to follow your story? Where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, just my name, Tyler Stanaland, and then you can see what happens on Selling the OC on Netflix at some point this year for seasons 2 and 3.
Selling the OC. Tyler's getting a little spicier. Check out season 2 and 3 whenever they do come out, and make sure to go give Tyler a follow. Tyler, thank you for being on this episode of Trading Secrets.
Thanks for having me.